And good afternoon. Welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Anika.
And I'm Andrea. And welcome to our next episode in our deep dive, quick dives into Lower Decks. We are discussing season 2, episode 6 through 10. Season 2 near the end starts bringing some structure and we start seeing some issues pop up. But let's go into the 5 episodes we're going to discuss today. We have episode 6, Spy Humongous. When it's Anomaly Consolidation Day, the USS Cerritos, on the USS Cerritos, it leaves the lower decks some mixed emotions. And Captain Freeman attempts to negotiate peace on the Pakled homeworld. And maybe there's a spy who is not good at being a spy. And then we have Where Pleasant Fountains Lie, where Mariner and Boimler are stranded on an uninhabited planet with a sentient computer. And on the Cerritos, Lieutenant Commander Billups must prove his engineering abilities to an old adversary. It's his mom. The dude's the prince. He's trying to avoid it. I cannot wait to talk about that episode. Episode 8 is about Excretus. It's a consultant arrives on the USS Cerritos to run drills that require the lower deck and the bridge crew to swap duties. It's a walk a mile in people's shoes, people. And then we have episode 9, Wage Douche, which I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I do apologize. And Boimler tries to find a bridge buddy when the USS Cerritos crew has some downtime during a warp. And also in this episode, we get to see some of the lower decks on other ships as well. And that's the fun part of this episode. And last but not least, episode 10 of season 2 is called First Contact. And the USS Cerritos is tasked to aid another starship in a first contact mission. And this episode ended with a lot of little nuggets of OMG, what is going on? I cannot wait for season 3 because of this episode. So let's get into it. Before we go into a little bit of a deep dive into each episode, which one did you like?
First Contact had the most drama. And so I really like that. And it's suspenseful. It was dare I say, the first episode in the entire series where I wanted to start ahead of a podcast, but I resisted the urge to do so. And so all those lists, it ends with to be continued. I'm so looking forward to talking about that one. Episode 9 with exploring other lower decks on other ships. That one I found most intriguing. Okay. And that one also had a lot of fun parts. All the episodes I'm looking forward to, but those two are like first and second hits for me.
For me, episode 9 was probably my favorite out of this set. Because, and I will admit, when I first watched it, it wasn't my favorite. But then going back and then sort of just seeing again all the different bridge crew, all the different like lower decks and bridge crews on other ships, it was amazing. And even at the end where they had the little lower decks of the Borgs, just like all hooked up to machines, it was a cute little insight that I think so it worked for this one. It worked. I guess my second favorite. It might have to be Where Pleasant Fountains Lie, because it was a hint of fantasy and sci-fi mixed together. And I feel like sometimes Star Trek tries to do fantasy and sci-fi in live action, and it just never melds well for me. And I think about the Strange New World episode when they went into the whole book universe, and it just never works on live action for me. But this was the first time where I was like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious and adorable, and I love it. And this was an easier, better way of mixing both fantasy and sci-fi in a manner that sort of worked. And we have the Dragon Breath engine and not the warp engine. And it's hilarious.
And all the sexual innuendos.
Oh my God, that episode. There's so much to discuss. And we'll get into it, people. So on episode 6, the Spy Humongous, the Pakleds have been sort of this issue for the Starfleet community, and since season 1 and some in season 2, and they're now the Cerritos has been tasked with trying to broker peace. And then while that is happening, there is a defector on the Cerritos, and he's like, I don't want to be down there anymore. I want to be up here. Show me your shields. And it just I laugh every time I watch it because it was just like, they're so dumb. They're so like, how are they like advanced enough to be in Starfleet but they don't have a big enough helmet to like have this conversation. What did you think of episode 6?
Oh, that was a blunder of errors between like Tindy and Mariner trying to gather all anomalies, and also the Pakleds, who seems to be stealing technology and not advanced enough to know how to use it. And
But they can steal it from smarter people. That part just always.
yeah, because they set up traps, and so they don't even realize how to use it. But they also have this bureaucracy in which you have to talk to the person with the biggest helmet. Not only that person can make decisions,
The
but
Pakled King. I'm the Pakled Emperor. I'm the like super emperor. Like it is genuine. Like I had genuine laughs during this episode of like frustration and both like what the F is going on this planet. And like how he's like, oh, they have the best restrooms ever, and like you're in there like escape. Like what is going on?
that's just it. He didn't even realize that was a really engineering or things. He has no clue.
See some red shirts who are all about being red shirts and only want to hang out with red shirts, and they want to bring Boimler into their crew because he was stationed on the Titan with Riker, and they want to pick his brain. And we see that with them, there is a difference of the red shirts who are all talk and those who are action. Because during Anomaly Consolidation Day, Tindy, who signed everyone up without their permission, Tindy, stop it. Stop this. They hate it, and she's trying to have fun and work together with her friends. And they're just like, this is trash day. I hate this. This is annoying. And we have at the end of it when she's like turned into this like anger, rage, centipede monster bug thingy. Boimler is the only red shirt who can actually provide both words and actions to stop the issue that they're in, versus everyone else trying to give engaging and rousing speeches of, we will get through this, but how are we going to get through this? And I like that. I was like, this was a win for Boimler in this episode because he finally got a little bit more confidence about himself, because we've seen in all of season 1 and everything we've seen so far in season 2 that he doesn't think he's as good as he is. He lacks that confidence. In this episode, he was able to be like, look, y'all all talk. Actually do something. Help out versus just give your words. At the end of the day, he basically changes the mind of all the other red shirts save one, and the guy only got to sit in the chair for like a minute.
Yes. For all of those that couldn't see me just then, I had to straighten my back because your posture also helps communicate that you want a leadership role, and also like really broad shoulders and being all buff. So
and padding your shoulders to give you better shoulders.
Yeah, it's like they injected steroids or padding into his uniform. But the red shirts were all about how to manipulate, I think, the Federation to advance them to promotion instead of really doing their job, because they thought Tendy's work like was beneath them, right? And so they wanted Boimler to I don't know, skip that work and hang out with them. But they don't realize there's a lot of science and teamwork just in that development process to help them earn their keep. And in the end, it wasn't just like the red shirts that needed him. The whole ship needed Boimler to help save Tindy. And I can't think of the number one now, but he thanked Boimler for helping Tindy just save the day and acknowledge that. And I think that's what gave the red shirts a just a quick moment of reflection, like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be following our leader. Maybe he has other motives.
And maybe action actually gets work done. Like doing your job is what people notice.
Yeah.
Moving on to episode 7, Where Pleasant Fountains Lie. This hysterical hysterical episode. So we find out that Commander Billups is actually a prince of a fantasy world. Well, it's not really a fantasy world. It's a world that was like founded by like Renaissance people. And there's like dragons there, and they like still live in medieval times and dress and act and talk like they're in medieval times. And we also find out that Billups has to stay a virgin for the rest of his life. Because if he was to have sex, regardless of when or why, he would automatically become king of Hyperion. And that is, if not the most craziest rule ever. What did you think of that storyline?
First of all, I'm glad this is animation because I think this would be really hard to pull off in live action. And then it would come off, as you stated earlier, just unbelievable. It's a little bit more realistic. If that's weird, that's weird to say. But in this animated space, because
it works better.
You don't have to really think about, you don't have to take it seriously at all because this is animation. But his mother just seems to be like one of those helicopter moms, like wants to control and manipulate him, even though he's an engineer that found his real niche. But still, in the end, she wanted to control him and bring him into the fold. And I'm glad he stood his ground. He had some technical difficulties in the end.
So going deeper into this episode, into this scene, Monica's underselling how much of a helicopter mom his mom is. She fakes her death. Okay, people. She doesn't fake an explosion. She actually has an explosion happen. Fakes like she killed a Starfleet ensign. We think Rutherford is dead for a moment. She also, that way he will give up, and like it's not even enough that he said he's gonna reclaim his throne. She's like, no, you're gonna have to, like, we're gonna trick him to having sex with these guards. And it's like, oh my gosh, like the lengths you are willing to go to get your way. Like, it is crazy. You faked your death. You made your son believe you were dead.
And Rutherford.
Yes. And
poor Tendi is going on a roller coaster ride every season. He's dying.
He died. He lost his memory. Like, what's going on? Like, oh my God.
Also, Mom took the Cerritos off of their mission because it was an emergency, right? And so there was something wrong with their dragon blood, whatever, engineering.
Dragon breath engine.
And so that's when the chief engineer and Rutherford beamed over initially to help them out, and then thought they were had fixed the problem. But she stays this entire thing, so the Cerritos could be off doing what they need to do, not this pretend mission just for Mom.
And so that's one half of this episode. And the other half, we have a little mini away mission with Boimler and Beckett. And they are trying to take a sentient evil computer to like their storage facility for evil computers to make sure they don't like attach to anything. And of course, in like fashion for Starfleet, nothing can go off without a hitch. They get like hit by this wave of like an EMP or something, and they fall into this gravity well of this planet. And like their replicator is broken. Their rations are eaten by a wild animal. They are fighting because Boimler finds out that Beckett basically took him off of his original posting to be onto this with her because she didn't think he was ready. It was a lot. There was a moment where we thought like Boimler would just like betrayed Beckett. That away mission was an episode by itself.
Yeah.
So I know you love away missions. what did you think?
I think this was a deeper dive into both of those characters,
Mm-hmm.
besides the AI character, who was, even though not, I don't know, not alive, but a sentient being, but seemed to have his own like plots. So the AI wanted to connect to download all of his, I shouldn't say his, but its knowledge and spread it to control a planet or a bigger sphere with a bigger mission. But their whole mission, Boimler and Mariner, was to make sure the AI did not connect to any technology. And the two of them struggled with that because they also have deeper issues that they haven't solved, between Boimler's constant reflection on his time with Riker and on the Titan. And he kept bringing it up, and that
Mm-hmm.
was digging into Mariner. She hadn't resolved her personal issues with that, about him leaving and going off to somewhere else. I think she even called it like his study abroad.
Yeah.
And so she really manipulated the situation because he wanted to go on another mission, but she uh uh made connections and ensured, I think she really kind of used her mom and the fact that she's related to the captain to get Boimler on this mission with her to 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 transport this AI. And they end up, as you say, in crash landing. And then then in the end, Boimler manipulated both of them. So it was an interesting flip flop there, and a bigger dive into both characters and how they're, in the end, they were both master manipulators. All and the AI was constantly involved in trying to trick them.
Oh, that AI was annoying. I just wish they just would have buried him under this, like the grass, and just left him there, because the sand, because there was no grass, because he was very annoying. Now, I want to say I don't really think she used her relationship with her mother. I just think Ransom trusts her judgment more than he trusts Boimler, because Beck has been on the ship longer. She has more experience. She works with him more. So I don't think he saw it as the captain's daughter, but more as someone who has intimate knowledge and is like, oh, if you say he's not ready, like, I trust you. Because she has more experience in everything that Boimler's trying to do. But that was my
Yeah.
take on it.
And I hear that take. For me, anytime the captain's daughter says anything, I think people naturally on a ship, their ears perk up. And we've already experienced that, in which someone wanted her to pitch an idea to the captain. Maybe I'm just like leading more into the story than what's actually there. I just think that she has to be more careful when she's, I don't know, going to senior leadership with ideas, because she does have a certain weight.
But that's not her fault. So
You're
you can't
absolutely
really
right. Yeah.
like, even if they take it that way, that's not necessarily mean she is intending it that way. Because she didn't do this because she was the captain's daughter. She did it because she didn't think Boimler was ready, regardless of the fact that she was like right or wrong in her actions.
Right. And
Yeah.
the interesting piece of irony is, whose fault is that this information got out? Boimler.
Yeah. I think in the first half I said episode 9 was my favorite. I'm gonna have to recant that information and actually say episode 8 was my favorite. Because I don't know why I said 9. I mean, I know why I said 9. 9 was good, but 8 is actually my favorite of this one. Because it is just we get to see the bridge crew and the lower decks sort of come together. So basically, it starts off. This is my favorite code opening of any of the shows. And this code opening, we have the lower deck crew sitting out and watching, I think, a nebula or something. And it's like, oh, we just love being here. And then the bridge is, they get a distress call that someone's like stuck in a time loop, and they're just like, they end up saying, let's go get them. And then they leave the lower deck crew, our favorite four, on this like asteroid or whatever. And it's like, all right, do we have a lot of oxygen, a little oxygen? What's going on? And Tindy being the ever optimist, like, oh, don't worry, they're going to come back quickly, and then we're all going to have a great laugh about this. 6 hours later, they're beamed into sick bay, thrown with like blankets and trying to be warmed. And it's my favorite one because of the fact that it was just like, finally, you had you had a little bit of repercussion to your unauthorized actions because like, you weren't supposed to be off the ship. But also, too, like you legit almost died. Like your mom almost killed you. And it sort of sets the stage for this episode because sometimes with cold openings, they don't have anything to do with the rest of the episode, you know? Sometimes it's just like a quick little snapshot. Not always, but sometimes it's like a quick little snapshot into that world, and then like you're pulled out into the regular episode. But this one leads directly into it. And we find out, and it sort of starts the little friction between the bridge crew and the lower decks. And then they have a trainer come in who is basically there to swap the roles and let people walk a mile in each other's shoes so they can really understand. So the lower decks can understand the pressure the bridge crew is under, and the bridge crew can respect the work that the lower decks do. And in true lower deck fashion, everything goes to hell in a handbasket so quickly. We find out that the basically all the bridge crew and the lower deck crew, they're failing everything. We have Boimler being the overachiever who refuses to get anything less than 100%. And then we find out they were all set up to fail from the beginning because the instructor wants to purposely fail them so that way she can keep her job. There's a lot going on in this episode. What did you think?
Yeah, the last 10 minutes really pulled it all together, including that cold open. So that facilitator had read, I guess, the debriefing about what had happened with leaving the 4 lower deckers out on that asteroid. It was like, oh, between this and those other missions, I can use them as test subjects to prove that I should my job should persist. Like they need me to continue to test these. And they're, I guess, this California class, which is a lower, less important group. And so she's manipulating them, but I think the crew didn't help the situation because their decisions, they couldn't. So Freeman and the bridge crew could not complete their missions, even though there was a little sabotage within their missions. And they couldn't use a lot of creativity. I think everyone couldn't, except for Boimler was really good at manipulating the Borg and navigating through that to save the Borg babies and teaching the Borg mom empathy. So he was really embracing this challenge, and yeah, he has a lot of leadership qualities.
He's good in a crisis. He is good in a crisis,
and there's some people that can react very well to simulations, but not real life. Because this is a different Boimler than what we saw in the Titan episodes, in which he panicked and like was really had a hard time with those real-time actions, and he was scared. But I think knowing that he was kind of in a safe place because it's simulation, so it's like a holodeck and virtual reality, that he knew how to manipulate it. And yeah, so of all the episodes, I think this one, and was it the first episode of the season, Boimler really was able to show growth to also his teammates, because there's quite a few of these episodes where in the end he keeps getting pushed back down and his confidence deflates or other things like that. But in this one, like, he helped save the day, I think, in the end.
He did, because he, it's like his personality of always having to be the best is what kept them in the running and their score is not being tallied. It gave the crew time to actually come together because they thought all this arguing, the way they kept failing all their tests, was a test from the tester. And she was like, oh no, I'm going to fail all of you. So they know, like, everyone else kept passing them. But like I knew this crew was gonna fail, and I'm glad you guys are doing it because it makes me look good. And with a crew, her test that was meant to pull them apart actually pulled them together and kept them together, so that way they could show her, you only know simulations. And this goes back to what you just said, that some people are only good in simulations and not in real life. And they pulled that on her. She's like, I've been in simulated situations so many times. Like, yeah, but you haven't seen the real thing. And they basically teach the teacher and get her to change their results. And the only reason they had the ability to do that was because Boimler's personality would not allow him to get anything less than 100. And even though he failed in the final end, they still was like, thank you. You did it. You got 100. You were amazing. You saved us. Like, they built him up. And I think that's also a really great thing. Yeah. That was good.
He failed, but they won, right?
Yeah.
So there was a sacrifice on his part, and he may have been inducted into the Borg community. But
they took everything that made him him. They took everything from me. They put implants in me. They put it in my ear. Yeah, they put it in your ear. They put it in your ear. Oh,
I also like this episode because there were a lot of Easter eggs. So between the Borg, and then each one of those simulations was like an away mission. It was like a transport into a different, even smaller story. And so sometimes at different times in the Star Trek timeline.
Great. I loved episode 8. It was like, sometimes when I go back and I rewatch, like there's certain, certain episodes you just want to watch first. 8 is one of them. Now 9 is still a good one. It's just not my favorite. But it is up there because it's a great into other ships, and other worlds within other lower decks within the Star Trek universe. So in this one, they're on a very long warp, and it seems like everyone has a bridge buddy. And just when you think he has the confidence, he does something that just brings it back down. And he wants a bridge buddy, and the only bridge buddy is Ransom. And he tries to find an inn, and he lies that he's from Hawaii, and he's not. And neither are they. They're all from a different moon as well. But this episode showcased how other people are dealing with what's going on in the universe. We see a Vulcan perspective, and how what's considered very tame, in my opinion, is that outburst is why you're getting transferred. Like, really? She just was speaking logically. And then you see the Klingon culture and how that's so different from everything they're dealing with. So what did and then we also find out that the Klingons are sort of behind the Pakleds, that they're the ones who are helping the Pakleds get everything done. And again, they're so stupid because they test the bomb and we ran out. Because it's a bomb. You can only use it once.
The underlining theme of all of the characters that they presented, really that they wanted to be liked. So whether it was Freeman, really who wanted to play, I think, like some games with Mariner, she wanted to be liked.
Side note, can we just say that when her mom's like, why do you always pick the chef? Because we want to ship the replicator. Being a chef is just weird. That is true, and that is smart.
Yes. And I never look at replicated food the same way after hearing about what they use to replicate that food. So yeah, they don't need a chef. It's just engineers. But on a more positive note, all of the characters really wanted to be liked, so they were trying to find another partner to connect with. And Shax was under a lot of stress, and Rutherford helped soothe him with that pottery making class, and to make friends, but superficially, just for those few hours while they were at warp. And none of them were a natural fit for him. But it's an ongoing struggle, I think, with not just humans, but lots of different societies is wanting to be finding some kinship, finding some people that you like and you want to stay around with. Rutherford would seem to be the only person that was like in his own space, which is in his own safe space, which is different, and his character has evolved because at the very beginning when we met him, he was coming to terms with becoming a cyborg, and he wasn't very sure of himself there. So I like the character journeys here that they presented. What did you think about each one of those like bridge buddies and those connections?
I like them to see them view each other as humans, as people. I should say human people. I don't know another word, but like as equals, as someone to hang out. Like I know when we're on the clock, I'm your commanding officer, but like let's just relax, let's just hang out, let's just enjoy this time together. Let's rock climb, let's do pottery, let's do phaser training, let's fake like we're in Hawaii. Like it was nice to see them see each other equals. And just like as friends, as potential friends, of knowing there's a line, and then when we're on shift, that line can't get crossed, but have some fun. That Ransom still sees him. He still sees Boimler because we see a nervous cadet coming up to Boimler. And it's like, oh my God, I was told you were amazing by Ransom. And it's like, you never know who's watching you and what they're watching. And then I love also in that scene that Ransom notices the cadet talking to Boimler and he has like a little smile and he's just like, okay. And it's a great way that this episode sort of showcased that they see each other outside of, and I like that.
Yes, which is completely different from Vulcans.
Yes.
And the Vulcan ship and their hierarchy. And folks need to stay in your place. That's one thing we were really taught in this episode. Stay in your lane. But we saw a character who had this side research and found a solution to a problem, but there was some resistance there from leadership from implementing it because it wasn't thoroughly tested. She didn't present it up in rank in an orderly way. The community dynamics are different. Now, in the end, I guess she's transferred now to the Federation. This Vulcan cadet. So maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll see her in other lower decks. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Would be an interesting conflict there, because she's still Vulcan. They decided to dismiss her instead of embracing her creativity, her knowledge, her exploration. They shut her down.
And it could be said because it's almost like one of the things where it's like people in leadership know their limitations. And it's like Vulcan leadership, her commander knew she was never going to thrive under Vulcan knowledge. And so it's like, this is a punishment, quote unquote, but really I'm helping you go somewhere where this is going to be embraced, not stifled. And I was like, okay, you're doing something good for her. Even though she views it as a punishment, he's looking out for her. He's like, you're not going to thrive here because we won't let you. I won't let you. So I'm gonna send you somewhere where you can be who you are. And then we also see with the Klingons, it's sort of like just a free for all of just but we also learn that it's the Klingons for everything that's going on with Pakleds, and it's starting to see that the Pakleds has been like the underlying theme, and from season 1 and season 2 that they've been attacking and being more hostile, and for it to come out instead of just being like a one-off thing here, one-off thing there. It's been a persistent attack from the Klingons to incite war, but like from one Klingon, and then we have someone who is like from the lower decks who is more pure to the Klingon way, and it's like, no, we don't have someone else do our fighting for us. We fight for ourselves. And how he's like taking them back to the pure way. So it has their own standard. And on the Vulcan, it was the one who was different was pushed to Starfleet. And on Klingon, the one that was different was like killed or like badly injured. So the High Council can deal with him. So it's like outsider.
Right. And in Klingon tradition, in order to become captain, it seems like you're have to kill off the captain, then you get respect, and then you're
You keep what you kill.
Yeah.
So this episode was like, it was a trickster as well, because it made you think this was just a filler episode of them like getting to see behind the scenes, and for it to really be something that is very important to the continuation of the storyline.
Yes, because one of the Pakleds said that we need another boomer.
Yeah,
and we're referring to a bomb. And so that I think is to the end of first contact.
Oh, no. Well, yes. But the
Because
one
I
they
haven't
blew
seen it,
up.
watch ahead, but that's
No, the one they tested, they wasted the first one. They just
right.
tested it for no reason because they wanted to see how it happened. But yes, you're right to the next part. And then on that note, we're going to go into the last episode of this season called First Contact, where tensions are high within the Cerritos, because the Captain Freeman is offered a promotion off of the ship, basically after she finishes a first contact, becomes a support for a first contact for another ship. And how her bridge crew, they're not handling well. Beckett does what Beckett does best, and that is just makes issues where there are none, because she does not know how to handle her emotions. I promise people, she is probably one of my favorite characters ever. But girl needs therapy. Like, she needs therapy, and she needs therapy right now. Because she takes what should be a monumentous, amazing occasion for her mother and turns it into a selfish matter for herself, which Boimler does call her out on, which I'm thankful for. We find during this first contact, they are hit by like this wave of something. Like the other ship is hit by this wave, the Archimedes, and like they are plummeting towards the planet that they're supposed to do first contact with, and that's a great way to contact them. Like, hey, we're gonna kill millions of people. Hi. And then Rutherford, being who he is, he comes up with a way to save everyone. And in the part of doing what needs to be done to save the day, he regains a memory that says that he might not have chosen to be a cyborg on his own. So there's a lot that happens in this episode, a lot that we have to unpack. And then the ending shocked me. Did it shock you?
Yes. So Mariner overreacted, and she has I don't know if she was developing separation anxiety. She was upset that her mother didn't tell her, but her mother didn't have a chance to tell her, and just dragged this whole thing out of proportion, even though her mother was not sure yet, because this was all still being worked out. And I'm sure she doesn't want to tell the rest of the crew that she's moving on until she knows for sure.
You don't want someone else spilling your news for you. And like, she didn't even do it in a way that was like, oh my God, guys, my mom, I'm so happy for her. She's getting a promotion. She did it to stir the pot. And it was like, Beckett, you did not get spanked enough as a child, Beckett. Like, you were not punished correctly or enough when you were a child. Because what's going on? Why did you do that?
I instantly thought, this is the reason why she's not on the bridge, not a captain. Like, you cannot be in a leadership role, Mariner, and jump to these conclusions like this.
Ask for herself. Talk to her mom.
Right. Private time. Can we like just take 5 minutes to have a quick chat at the replicator, whatever. But to go to like the mess hall and then share all these rumors reminds me of the other rumors that she was sharing about like black ops and all these things that just
childish.
Yeah, and leads to more anxiety, because Ransom, Shax, everyone else was just much more tense during that mission.
Yeah. But the Cerritos crew does what the Cerritos crew does best. They pull through and they come together. And they are able to take off all of their outer hull of their ship so they can get through there and save the Archimedes before they plummet to the earth. And Captain Freeman is able to do her first contact, where we get the title. And then while she is in her celebratory mood, she decides, you know what, I'm not going to leave the Cerritos because I love it here. I love my crew. I love my people. Okay. And when Starfleet shows up, we find out that she's being arrested for the destruction of Pakled planet because I'm gonna go ahead and like say this. When I first watched this episode, I was just like, well, what just happened? Because I firmly believe, even from the first time I watched this episode, this has something to do. This is written all over it. Yeah, but it's almost like last episode where you think, oh, filler episode. Oh no, this is very important. Oh my God, it's a joyous occasion. It's going to end on a high note. She's going to turn down the crew. She's walking off in handcuffs in front of her entire crew. Like the way they flip flop the endings was so jarring. What did you think of the ending?
Here I can get to that. It's the ending is tough because we had just brought the whole team together in many teamwork episodes this season, and then take apart the leader in the most humiliating way.
And it was humiliating because her team wanted to congratulate her.
Right.
It all came.
So she was walking down. Right. That's and it's tough because also we know her daughter started all that. Like she could have left or beamed out in a much more, I don't know, discreet way instead of. But
it was. And here's the thing about it. It was just like her daughter did this as a form of celebration, and it was like in the beginning, she spread the news to hurt her mom. And now she's spreading the news to help her mom because she's proud of her. And she's come to terms with the fact that I get that I'm upset you're leaving because we finally have a good relationship and I'm going to miss you. But I also don't want to hold you back. And it's like her bridge crew is like, we accept that you're going to take the job. Go and do it. And she's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to turn it down. Everyone's there for her versus against her. And it turns into a humiliating thing.
Right, because just in this episode, she had talked about her ego. She talked about Cerritos strong. She had talked about, at first, she wasn't as concerned about feelings, but now she's aware that she needs to be more cognizant of the crew's feelings. She was thinking about helping to save the day on her own, possibly a suicide mission on the captain's yacht, which I didn't know existed, but is now a thing. We have seen her character grow so much, and then our final scenes of her in handcuffs was just heartbreaking to me. So that's why I was like, oh my goodness, there's a lot more drama to this animation that I planned.
And this, it went from a ragtag bunch of episodes to, oh, this storyline is coming together. And I like the fact that they did it this way. I like that they did the storyline where it didn't start off serious. Again, to really get to know these characters, to get to understand them, to start caring for them and seeing all their flaws and their everything before came up. And you're just like, oh crap, what is going on?
Yeah. Two more things. There was two other character journeys in this. So a combo between Rutherford and Tendi, who like took a walk down memory lane to visit their fondest memories of the ship, because also Tendi is up for a promotion. And she jumped to conclusions too, and took that way out of proportion. And was scared, but she may be promoted up to science, I think. So, which I think will be really cool for her to leave out of the confinements of the medical and the sick bay. Recognized by superiors to know that there's opportunities, because she's time. I mean, we've only she, I think, was the last ensign that we have been following in the show to join the group. So it's nice to see her promotion. And then Boimler's rescue, helping to, I think, release one of the
panels,
and then diving down with the dolphins and risking his life really to release one of the panels behind a wall. He was unconscious for a while and Tendi helped to save him. So it really showed that teamwork there, and bravery on his part to do this, and an opportunity for him to really shine. And because I want his character to be lifted up a lot, but all of this comes to the back of my mind when I think about the ending scene of this episode?
Like this propelled Lower Decks up for me. It's like I'm excited for season 3. I'm excited for what could come, what will come. This ended. There's so many ways it could go. There's so many ways it can start.
Yeah, to be continued.
Well, on that note, as always, I'm Andrea.
And I'm Anika.
And live long and prosper.